Welcome to the second K7000 in this lot of two. Obviously the first one was the previous video to this one. This is the second one to wrap up this series of two. And this one has, let's see here. Okay, we took care of this one in the last video. We don't care about that anymore. Yep, okay, yep. So first K7000 is what this is, and it says keeps turning off intermittently. It has a remote board, so we'll have to see what that's about. Let's open the other side of this. Has the owner's address label. I don't want to show that obviously, so we're going to open it from the bottom side. Okay. Any broken pots? Nope, seems alright. Connection is good. Any broken pots here? Nope, we'll set them all to the center. Alright. And neck board looks good. Aside. Okay, keeps resetting. Okay, now this is a good example here. This is the 1990 version. If you go back and watch part one, you'll see I talked about having a 1986 version. This is a 1990 version here, and if I can already tell, if we turn this around, there's some factory mods here with some caps on the flyback. Now, it's not unusual to see that. There seems to be... This one hasn't been repaired as well as the previous one. This one's covered in flux still. Not a big deal. I can clean all this up later. But yeah, this is just coated in flux. This is like a polar opposite to the condition of the other one. And there is a shit ton of solder on some of these flyback posts here. You know, it is what it is, and if it works, it works, but man, that's a bit overkill. There's some solder balls there. But otherwise it looks okay. Yeah, if you ever turn this over and if you ever get a K7000 and you turn it over and there's caps like this either across here for the width or here on the flyback, those are factory mods. Don't remove them. They need to be there. I mentioned something like that on the previous one. I don't ever recall seeing a cap over here, though. That's kind of odd. Do I have one on this one? Yeah, see, there's not a cap on this one. And that location up here. So that's kind of odd, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's there. It's serving a purpose, so I'm not going to remove it. Everything looks like it's been reflowed and reworked. Every single pad on this has been reflowed. There's not a single oxidized pad on this thing. I do need to reflow this, it looks like. This looks kind of subpar. That's better. Okay. Wow. I imagine that every single pad was reflowed to try and figure out why it would occasionally shut down. Let's see, what was it? It was... occasionally it keeps turning off intermittently. Well, I wonder if that's a voltage regulator problem. Just for the sake of testing, let's see what the voltage regulator and the HOT read. HOT is 0.5 and 0.5. Yeah, that should be good. Are those touching? Those are not touching. Okay. So for this type of voltage regulator, STR3130, the 5-pin one, or I should say they're all 5, but the tall one, not the fat one or wide one. For that one, you want to read across pins 3 and 4, and it should be 0.150 because we're reading through the B+ pot. So if we do this, yeah, 0.152. So that's good. Now if we go to our ohms, we should read somewhere around 180. I think the 25 inch is 180 and the 19 inch is 220. Yep, 180. Okay, so voltage regulator seems okay. NHOT occasionally shuts down. Well, we can adjust. Well, we can't really adjust our shutdown pot. There is a procedure for adjusting the shutdown pot. You put your, I think your positive lead on this leg of D12. I could be wrong. I'll have to look it up. But if you put your positive lead on this leg of D12 and your negative on chassis frame, I think you adjust your voltage shutdown pot to, I think, 98 volts. And that is what this should be set to. So I'll power this up. There's no need to test anything else because it's supposedly working. This diode doesn't look very good. That's kind of odd. But there's no real reason to do any kind of testing because it's supposedly it's working. I want to turn it on and read what the shutdown pot is set to. We may simply have to remove this, replace this pot, and adjust it properly. That may fix this issue because, you know, with it shutting down intermittently, I'll bet you the shutdown pot is not adjusted properly or something got out of whack when the cap kit got done. But we'll test this. We'll see what it reads. It should be around 98 if I'm not mistaken. And if it's not, we'll replace this pot and see if that fixes the problem. So stand by one moment. Well, we're all hooked up, ready to go. Let's turn our generator on. And let's see if it even powers up, and if it does, what kind of image we can get. So here we go. It powered up, but it doesn't. It just sounded odd. Yeah, see, something's not right. Because I could tell something wasn't right just from the sound it made when I powered it up. It didn't sound right. Let's. I bet you though, if I adjust my H position, it'll fix itself. Nope, something is definitely not right here. We're missing, well, we're not missing colors, but I think our blue transistor is shorted. We also, whoa, yeah, it's definitely got problems. So, oh man. Oh yes, oh, you saw there when I shut it down and had a normal image there for a moment. Let me get the, I should have done this prior, but let me get our meter set up and check and see what our shutdown is set to. Just to see. It also may be a faulty flyback. This may be a bit more involved than I thought, but let's at least see what our shutdown pot is set to. Give me a moment here. Alright, so we're set up, and it turns out that it's not 98 volts, it's 9.8 volts. I had that backwards, or not backwards, but I had the decimal point off. I was just trying to go off memory and I couldn't recall exactly, but it's 9.8 volts. So I have negative going to a jumper that's going to the frame, and I have the positive going to a jumper that's feeding off of the cathode side of D12 there. As you can see, it's right there. And we should read 9.8 volts when we turn this on. If we don't, we'll turn it off and try and get the glue off or replace the pot and adjust it to 9.8. So let's see what it is. This may be our problem. Oh, 8.02. It's going, yeah, look, it's going down. Yeah. It's going, now we don't even, oh, I was going to say I don't have a picture because that's not on. Yeah, we got something going on here. It's too blue, and we have this problem, the same problem we had last time where the right side is collapsed. CH position, yeah, yeah, see now it's even worse. Look, it's just going down. Alright, so let's replace that shutdown pot and adjust it to 9.8 and see if that helps us. It's not going to help us with our image. It may, but I doubt it. But at least it'll stop shutting down, and we can kind of proceed from there. So, one moment. Well, we're fast forwarding here a few hours worth of troubleshooting just for the sake of making a quicker video. But I was not able to adjust the shutdown pot to 9.8. The best I could get it to do was about 8.1. I was able to use some cutters and basically just cut the glue off around the pot successfully without damaging it. And the most I was able to actually, I can turn it full length, you know, all the way to 2K down to 0. But the best I could make it sit was about 8.1, 8.2. It should be 9.8. So I was not able to adjust it. And while I was doing it, the monitor kept zapping down and coming on, and zapping down and coming on at randomly intermittent times. So I checked the B plus and it was dead on 130. 130 solid. But when it would shut down, it would jump to 160. And when the monitor came back to life, it was 130 again, and it would shut down back to 160. So I changed the voltage regulator, I changed the HOT, and I changed C38. Here's the original C38. I got it over here somewhere. Oh, here it is. So this is the original C38. You saw before where the right side of the picture was squished, and I had like 3 inches of black and it was squished. When I'd move the H position over, it would squish even more. And that was usually indicative of a failing C38. So I removed C38 and put in a replacement of the same kind, just like the previous video. You can see it right there. And that fixed the width problem and the new voltage regulator and new HOT. I don't know which one it was. I changed them both. One of those two, if not both, fixed my problem of the chassis zapping and shutting down intermittently. And I was able to successfully replace the shutdown pot and adjust it to 9.8. So we're back in business and we're doing much better than we were. So let's go ahead and turn this on. It energizes nice and well. And we have good stable B plus right at 130, and we're set to, we were set to, let me turn this, we were at 9.8. Oh, there's no image. Let me turn the generator on. There we go, 9.83. So 9.8 is what you want to have your shutdown pot set to. And as you can see, we have no more width problem. So C38, replacing that. I replaced it with the exact same rating, but you know, when you have issues like that, it's usually a sign of a failing C38 or something like what we had in the previous video where it should have had that cap that wasn't there. So you'll have to see exactly, you know, I'd replace this first. And if if D18 is on the bottom of the chassis, you're probably going to need that cap, that extra cap. If D18 is on the top of the chassis like normal, you won't need that cap. It's pretty much how I think it goes. But anyway, here we have a full bright image now, except we're missing red. We have no red, and blue is overdriven. So if I go to the color bars here, you can see blue is way overdriven and there's no red. If I turn blue completely down, there's blue completely down, it's still blue. If I turn red all the way up, I still have no red. So no red and blue's overdriven. So I don't know if it's a main chassis issue or a neck board issue, but I gotta troubleshoot further. So I'll see what I can figure out and find. We'll come back, and if I get it fixed, I'll explain what I found. So stay tuned, one moment. Okay, so I did a complete neck board swap. This is the neck board, original neck board from this chassis. And this neck board is from this one that I was using to do comparisons on with the two caps and stuff on the previous video to this one. So this was the one that was originally on this tube that I fixed a long time ago that we're using for testing. But this is the original chassis we're working on. I did a full neck board swap, and check out what it looks like now. No change. Just playing a dirty trick on you there. So yeah, no change. It's a bit brighter because, you know, the neck board's different settings and stuff. But yeah, no change. So it's not a neck board issue. It's something on the chassis. Most likely, it's one of these three transistors or IC1, I believe. It's an IC. Yeah, I believe IC1 might be bad. So what I'm going to do is slave in another IC1, replace it from a donor chassis. If that doesn't fix it, we'll try IC2, but we'll try IC1 first, because this is what handles all that stuff. So let's change that out with one from a donor chassis and see what we get. So stand by. Well, I changed IC1 and I tested it and it didn't make any difference. It's still all blue and no red. But I did find something interesting. Check this out. Alright, so we have these three transistors here are for red, green, and blue. We've got red, green, and blue. Then there's a set of resistors for red, green, and blue. If we test the red ones, let's go to ohms. We got 152 and should be around 8K. Yeah, and then we got for green 152, 8K, for blue 152, 151, and shorted 0.1. So if we go to these transistors here and we turn this around, let's see, this should be red Let's read it this way. There we go. Okay, 0.6 and 0.6. Here's green. 0.6 and 0.6. And here's blue. 0.6 and shorted. So this transistor is most likely shorted. I got to pull it out of the circuit, see if this resistor still reads shorted. It's something else, but I'll bet you this transistor is shorted. That's why we have a constant blue image. Why we have no red will have to be troubleshot after that. So let's fix our issue of all blue and see where we're at from that point. So what we can do is just go ahead and take this out of circuit and see what we get. I don't have one to replace it right now. I have to go down to the stash that I have and pull a board. I may just rob this from this board I have over here, just so we can figure out the problem and get this repaired, and then I'll replace the parts on the other one at a later time. Since that one's mine, I can replace it or fix it later. But let's get this removed out of here and see if we still have a short. Of course, these all lay flat. Okay, there we go. Let's set it aside and see if our resistor is still shorted. Hopefully it's not. And it's not. So we definitely have a shorted transistor here. Let's see if we can measure this. Like I say, my bench is metal, so you can see here if I go, I can't just set this on the bench and test it. So if we go, this is going to be tough here. If we go center negative, shorted, other leg, open. Yeah, I don't know if it's emitter or base, but this leg is open. And what's going on here? I can't get a decent connection. There we go. Well, I can't get a decent connection on here because the leads are too short. So, but regardless, you saw we had the short before, and now we don't. See, now we got our 8K. Well, maybe you can't see. There you go. So we definitely have a shorted transistor. Let me see if I can get something. Let's do it. Here we go. On the old flux. Just want to double check here. Let's go to the base here. I can't get it. Well, I can't say that it's shorted. Because it's not acting shorted out of circuit. There it is. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Regardless, it's definitely bad. However it's reading now, it's definitely bad. I'm not sure why it's not reading shorted. It reads shorted in circuit, but not out of circuit. So, because you saw I had 0.0 ohms across that resistor, and now I have my 8K. So let's get another one and slave it in, and then test it again here. I'm just going to steal this one from here, this chassis. I don't want to run downstairs and have to get another one. So let's pull this one out of here. Easy enough. There we have it. Let's put it in here. Should go right in, hopefully. He says, as it gives him trouble. There we go. Okay. That's in there. We'll solder it in. It's pretty rare for these to go bad. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's pretty rare. So now, with that in there, let's see if we still have our 8K. Yep, 8K. So now, let's get it back on the tube and see if we have... let's see how this affected the red. And hopefully our blue is no longer shorted. So let's see what we get now after finding that. Alright, let's see what we get. We're turned on. Here we go. Fired up. And... yes! Look at that. That was it. Well, I don't know if we have red. We're way too... I don't know if we're too green, but we're definitely too bright. We'll turn this down to about there. And we're definitely too green. Let's turn our green down. That was the... Do we have red? We don't have red still. Well, at least we have our blue, our red and... I'm sorry. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yep, still no red. But we're one step closer. And I'm about to break. Not really. I need a little room to breathe because I'm one step closer to the edge. But I'm not about to break. Alright, well, we're one step closer. Let's see if we can figure out the no red and go from there. Well, after painstakingly going over everything on the chassis and the entire red circuit, I couldn't find anything wrong like I did on the blue circuit. We had the shorted transistor for blue, which was causing the overdrive of blue, and once we fixed that, we found out we had no red. I went through and looked at everything you could think of, and nothing was bad. So then I went and looked at the neck board. So this is the original neck board. After I had swapped the neck board from this chassis onto here and verified it wasn't a neck board problem, I put the original one back on. Well, it turns out that the problem was on the neck board because the transistor for red, which is this one, it's red, red, green, blue. So the red one here, if I took a close look and found that the trace between, let's see, this contact and you see the jumper I put there, that trace was open. The transistor had been worked back and forth and it broke the trace from here to here. So I put that jumper on there. Now, oh, my ground got disconnected. Hang on one second here. Let's put that back on. I gotta get my ground hooked back up here. One second. Let's see. Alright. So, after fixing that trace, check it out. Turn this on. Turn this on. There's our image, and we'll skip to RGB. There you have it. Chassis number 2, repaired. So, in review, we had a bad voltage regulator and or a bad HOT, or bad HOT and or bad voltage regulator. I don't know which one of those two solved the problem of it shutting down intermittently and flickering and dying. I don't know which one of those two components was causing that. But we changed them both out, so that fixed that problem. Then we had to change out the shutdown pot so I could adjust it properly. Got that done. It's 9.8 volts. Our B plus is steady at 130. We had a bad what was that, Q3 transistor for our blue. Our blue was shorted because of this shorted transistor. And we had an open trace for the red on the neck board. I think that's it. Oh, no, we had a bad C38. C38 was on its way out and was causing, why don't you focus up? C38 was on its way out and was causing a squished image on the side. So, got that replaced. C38 it's not always either shorted or good. Sometimes it can start failing. It's like any capacitor. Over time it can't quite do what it's supposed to do. And if you ever have a chassis where the right side is squished, and if you move the horizontal position to the right and it gets more and more squished, change out C38, because C38 is usually the culprit on that. You can replace it with the same rating. That's what I did. I found a 250 volt 392, or 392 I think it was. Same rating, and that fixed the problem. So we had a bad C38, bad HOT, bad voltage regulator, replaced the shutdown pot, and a bad trace on the neck for red. After all that, we're good to go. There's our convergence. Looks great. We have a nice full square image. Nothing shrunk, nothing collapsing. Everything's perfect. So 2 for 2. I'm sure the owner of this will be happy. I know I would. So yep, that's it. Thanks for watching, and as always, like, share, and subscribe if you want to. And stay tuned for more videos. I actually have a box of 4 other chassis here to get to. I just took them out to look them over. Haven't gone through them. They all have their own individual note of what's wrong with them. So stay tuned for those. I got 4 more videos at least on the way here shortly. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.